I was raised in a little town south of here called Granby, Missouri, tiny little town. And I'm the oldest in my family. I have a brother and two younger sisters. And I was always kind of a nosy, rosy kind of big sister, and bossy. And they would be the first ones to tell you that. My mom and dad were young, really young. And my dad was from a big family from down around Cassville and Exeter, and we always had big family reunions every summer. And the best thing about family reunions was I always had a book, and I would hide under the tables where the food were so I could read, and because I didn't like to play with all the other younger people, and especially not my brother and sisters. And so I was a little girl, probably around 7 or 8 years old, and I was hiding under the table. I remember how cool the concrete was, and I remember it was a really hot day, and the little ladies that were my aunts, and they were talking, and all of a sudden they were talking about my parents. And they started talking about what a shame it was that I had been born, and that I had been a mistake, and that I'd ruined my parents' lives. And they just went on and on and on. And I swallowed that. I just swallowed it. And it marked me. I had always been pretty responsible, but from that point on, my parents' happiness, my parents' success, the success of my family, certainly my own success, that was all my responsibility. And so if my mom and dad had a fight, it was my fault. If we couldn't go someplace, it was my fault. Everything was my fault. So from that point on, not only was I hyper responsible, but I started. I became that girl that fixed things. I was the fixer. No church, no anything. The closest we got to church when I was a kid was we went to vacation Bible school every year, so my mom could have some alone time, I think. Graduated from high school, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Met my husband, and he was somebody looking for somebody to take care of him, and I was always the one to take care of people, so we were just two heathen people that found one another and got married. When I was pregnant with our oldest daughter, we got invited to go to an Assembly of God church in Carthage, which was where we'd moved to. And the guy that was preached a message, and hell was a real thing. Hell was hot that day, and I felt it. And when it got time for the altar call, it was like I all did everything but just run to the altar. And my husband got saved that same day, and we went to church some, but neither one of us, we didn't really know how to do church. We didn't really know how to have a relationship. And went to nursing school, became a registered nurse, decided we weren't quite done having children, had one more child. I always say that half of my class got a new car and I got grace when we graduated. And my kids were always just the most important thing to me. It was always the most important thing in my life to be a good mom. As our kids got older, then they began to leave home, and it was just he and I, and we still had Grace at home, and things got even more unstable in our marriage, and I was working full-time. And had my own money, and just very independent. I just got very independent. Something happened in our marriage about a year ago that was a deal breaker for me, and I couldn't forgive, and so I left. I started over after 39 years. I was driving around Joplin and saw the church and saw the light. And I went home and looked it up on Facebook and watched some videos and watched some things that were on there. And I came, and the worship is what drew me in, but it was the word and people reaching out to me that made me stay. I'm coming up on my anniversary of of leaving my husband. And we're still married, but in the process of divorcing. And it's a hard thing to see your It's a hard thing to see the life that you thought you had and were going to have disappear. And it has been dark, and it has been hard, and it has been lonely. But God is faithful. And I told someone the other day that one reason that I thought that I had walked through such a dark time was that so I wasn't afraid of the dark. And I'm not afraid of the dark. God doesn't leave you, and He doesn't leave you. You know that the sun comes up every morning, and if you can hold on, that this too will pass. If you can hold on, that this too will pass. And so I know that it's dark right now, but it won't be like this forever. I just need to hold on. God hasn't finished with me, that He still has plans for me that are for good and not for evil. And that I can't really see it at the moment, but I know that there's hope. I am Karen Madsen, and this is me.